Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
StevieRichardsFitness.com. Join the SRF resistance today. RussosBrand.com. Get the real shoot from the most controversial personality in wrestling, Vince Russo. Lethal Vendetta. Hailing from Sydney, Australia, this band comes armed with the ultimate artillery, a precise and highly effective blend of thrash, groove, and traditional metal which pays homage to the great metal titans that have come before them. Check out lethalvendetta.bigcartel.com and download their music on all digital media outlets.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, Jedi, Sith, Mandalorians, everything in between, to another exciting, action-packed, fully stacked, and totally, jacked edition of the new Force Order.
For life.
Podcast, a Star Wars podcast by us. Three of the sexiest, smartest, baddest SOBs in the galaxy far, far away, a.k.a. the fans. For you, the fans. I am 1/3 of the NFO. I am a multi-time champion of a galaxy far, far away. I am the Greek god Papadon, aka GGP. Alongside with me, as you guys always know, I am riding with a smart, witty, ever so pretty, thunder-stealing, toy-collecting medical droid, and a sinister, ruthless, vindictive, malicious Sith Lord. Boys, you know what to do.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am the Dark Lord of the podcast, the Sith Ari, the Rampaging Reverend Kiss, the Butcher, your boy Spiro, aka Dark Spiridon.
And I am smarter than 21B, more technical than FX7, the God of Steel and Thunder, and the guy who came in that twice, because I'm braver than you thought, Dr. Destroyo, Alex Arroyo.
And lo and behold, we got a fourth man on the team tonight. We have a special guest, friend of the show. Hopefully he'll stay friend of the show after the show.
You never know.
Not many do.
Not many do. Fellow Star Wars lover. You may know him on his channel, the Den of Nerds. Introduce yourself.
Well, you know, I wish I had a really cool kind of intro thing to say. I gotta be honest, you guys just slayed it. But yeah, I'm Josh from the Den of Nerds, and very happy to be here. The energy is terrific.
Well, thank you, Josh. Pleasure to have you here because obviously we are a podcast about Star Wars, but our main objective, and I told you this, prior. We like to not get over on Star Wars. Our objective is to get Star Wars more over with the fan base. So that's what we're about. Now, granted, people have their opinions. They're entitled to it.
Yeah.
And that's fine and dandy. I love The Last Jedi. Spiro despises it. But we're still boys.
Yeah.
We respect everyone's opinion, and we do not vilify anybody for what they think. This is very neutral ground. We express everything with an open mind, only because you may bring points to the table that we never thought of that may change our view or may us see it from a different perspective. And that's what the NFO is all about. We have another saying on the show that Doc has come up with. There is only one thing better than Star Wars. And Doc, what is that?
More fucking Star Wars.
That's right.
Yo, can I just say, I actually have people who have unfollowed me on social media and who have unfriended me in real life because I did not like The Last Jedi. While, I've said on many times, I may not like it. God, you know what? Fuck it. I fucking hated the movie. But you know what, man? It's like I've stated many times, I'm happy that people liked it, You know,
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm still a diehard fan, and that's that, man. You know, but you know, this fucking toxicity has reached such a high, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy, and I know that's kind of how we connected and everything. You know, talking like about the Gray Order and just like I was kind of. Because, you know, when you do content like this and you're talking about Star Wars all the time and you're on social media all the time and you see all that stuff, it's frankly crazy. Like I tell people all the time and they don't get it, like how crazy it is right now with the Star Wars fan base. And it is, man. And, you know, there's something else I try to convey is that it really does come in all sorts of different flavors and on all sorts of different sides. There's plenty of people that like The Last Jedi that are incredibly toxic towards people that do not like The Last Jedi. And that stuff irks me just as bad, maybe a little bit more actually than some of the other stuff. But that could just be a personal opinion thing. It's just the flavor that bugs me or whatever. But yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. And it's cool that you guys are still able to be boys. Like, I don't see how that has to be a thing. You know what I mean? That divides it, man. It really, I don't think it has to be that way. You know, I don't know how we got here exactly, but yeah, you know, I'm curious. What do you guys, what are your expectations for episode 9? I mean, particularly if you don't like The Last Jedi, what are you kind of expecting out of that film?
So the parting line for us here is Spiro didn't like The Last Jedi. Papa and I actually loved it. There were certain beats that we didn't like of it. You know, obviously you could take the candle blight scene and just remove the whole thing and it's fine. But we appreciated it. So we have this back and forth, and it's kind of, you know, our banter that goes between the two of us. Papa Dot and I sent Spiro a Last Jedi T-shirt in the mail anonymously that he opened on air, which was great. But
that's amazing. That's great.
I think he cleaned his grill with it last week, so it's probably not.
Believe it or not, I actually wear that shirt, guys.
Nice.
I do.
So we kind of, you know, we appreciate different parts of it. Spiro can appreciate some parts of it, but maybe not all of it. But I think my expectations for the Rise of Skywalker, I'm looking for a movie that's going to just be the most epic thing that we've all seen ever. You know, it's going to take everything that we've seen in the past that we've loved about Star Wars, and it's going to bring it full circle. And it's going to do it better than it's done previously. So I'm walking in with high expectations. I want it to be dark, and I was very excited this week, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, about Daisy Ridley's little tidbit that she gave us, that it's actually going to be a dark movie. And I'm excited for that because, you know, as an adult Star Wars fan, even as a child Star Wars fan, I appreciated the dark portions of the Star Wars universe as much as I did the light portions. And as I get older, I actually like the dark portions a little bit better.
Yeah. Spiro, what about you, man? Yeah.
Listen, man, I just want a good movie. I'm looking at this realistically, and I think that expectations, whatever anybody's thoughts and feelings were on The Last Jedi, and especially for hardcore Star Wars fans like us, I think it's going to be very hard to meet our expectations. Is it possible? Sure, but you know, I think we all set the bar pretty high. We set our expectations very high for The Force Awakens. The movie wasn't bad. It was good. The Last Jedi just divided us beyond fucking. It's like the fucking, you know, some big war, you know.
Yeah. For
this film, I don't know, man. I just want a good movie. You know, J.J. Abrams himself, I think, put a lot on himself. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And he wants to tie up nine films, man. I mean,
yeah,
it's a tall order. Listen, man. All I want is a good film. You know, a good film, make us happy, unite us, and that's it, man.
What
Gotcha.
about you there, Joshy Poo?
Well, I mean, man. Okay, so here's my thing. Like, so there's two sides to this. Number one is this side that I've kind of been down the road with, like, the leaks, you know what I mean? And, like, going into, like, spoiler territory. And so some of that obviously weighs in on what I'm expecting. Frankly, I'm actually really curious to just see it and see, like, what are the leaks real? Was it real? Like, 'cause there's a lot of, like, talking, you know, about that kind of stuff. I expect it to be, here's the thing. I honestly expect I will like it. I'll enjoy it a lot. I'm a big Palpatine fanboy. So Palpatine being back in general is awesome. Some of the lore that they could get into with the Sith, you know what I mean? There's some speculation about how deep they'll go with that. I would love that. I'll tell you right now. I'll tell you something that I haven't necessarily articulated in any videos or really talked about too much. Is I have this one thing that I'm actually really, really worried about when it comes to this movie. And if this happens, I think it might break me a little bit. And this would be if I walk out of that movie feeling like Disney just called it the end of the Skywalker saga to sell tickets, and there's nothing done in the film to actually like wrap up the Skywalker saga, I'm gonna feel pretty salty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I need Anakin in that movie, man. Like I need Anakin in that movie in some way. Otherwise, like I don't know what we're doing. So yeah, that's kind of my expectation. I'm thinking I'm going to have a good time. I think it's going to be a lot of adventure. I hope I get wrapped up in it. I don't want to be sitting there thinking about all the bullshit. You know what I mean? I want to just be captivated, right? And then if we get Anakin and it feels like it does bring closure to the Skywalker saga, then like, whoa, that'll be insane. But that's pretty much where I'm at with it.
Very good. As far as I'm concerned, being the fact that I also do a conspiracy theory podcast outside of this podcast, the whole thing with episode 8, I think was contrived on purpose to divide the fandom. Not by Lucasfilm or Disney. I just think that it's a select few that do not like the film. And they're the ones who basically went on there and just started, chanting and yelling the loudest over and over and over again. I mean, the thing did make $1 billion. Highest selling DVD in 2018 or 17, whenever it came out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are people who have their gripes with certain beats in the film. But here's my issue. People are comparing this second act in the trilogy to Empire Strikes Back or Attack of the Clones, right? The issue is you can't compare apples and oranges. This movie was a continuation of Episode 7. Episode 7.5, let's call it, because it took place 5 minutes after the other movie ended. So there wasn't any room for any character development. There wasn't any room for Rey to become a better or stronger Jedi, because it only takes place within a week's time or a couple days' time after, everything is said and done with the last film. Whereas Episode 2 took place 10 years down the line. Episode 5 took place, 3 years or whatever it was after Episode 4. So characters were able to develop and grow somewhat to certain extents where they were a little bit different in every film, and you saw that, But with this film, you couldn't get much because the time frame was too close. So that's that. I personally feel that this movie is going to be the best imagery that we're going to see in the Star Wars film. It will be a little darker because of Palpatine, but if he does come back, then they definitely have to bring Anakin back only because of the prophecy. That prophecy is the backbone of this entire trilogy, 9 movies, all 3 trilogies. And if they do bring Palpatine back and Anakin or Luke are not physically present in the movie, it's going to be a lot of money left on the table and a ball that they dropped. Yeah. So I feel that we'll have a Gandalf the White moment with Luke, which I'm praying because his hand didn't clunk on the rock when he disappeared.
Yeah.
In my opinion, you spent billions of dollars to make movies. After you invested $4 billion into an IP, you're not going to make little mistakes like that. I think the fact that Leia also walked past Chewie to hug Rey in Episode 7, even though, JJ said, that was an oversight, it was a mistake. That wasn't a mistake. I think in Episode 9, there'll be a reason for it. And there'll be a reason for Luke's hand not clunking on the rock. And they'll tie it all together with a pretty bow.
Yeah, well, listen, man, I don't think JJ has Nick's he has no other choice, you know what I'm saying? He has to make something of it.
Right. Well, definitely.
In my opinion, and I've said this many times, I think Rian Johnson is a competent filmmaker. What he did in The Last Jedi, it's not a bad film. It's to me, it's just not the right Star Wars film.
Well, listen, we've had this discussion before. Not in front of Josh, but in front of our fans.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. Episode 4, Episode 1, Episode 7 are all the same movie.
Yeah.
They follow the same beat, the same straight line method of the movie, act for act, same thing. Now, the whole thing George Lucas said, the architect of this IP and this universe, it all 9 movies are going to rhyme. It's poetry. Right. It's cyclical. So could have been done a little better in Episode 7, the execution. Instead of a sand planet, could have they been on a jungle planet with Ray, or a salt planet like Crate? Could have been a different planet. Instead of a base being built within a planet to use Death Star technology, could they just put that in the bottom of a Star Destroyer and kill and people not lose their cool about stuff being recycled? Yeah. Okay, cool. I love 7. I thought Episode 7 was fantastic. It felt like Star Wars. But it didn't feel like The Mandalorian felt. Mandalorian felt more like Star Wars. You know what I'm saying? Solo, to me, felt more like Star Wars. Rogue One felt more like Star Wars. These other 2 films felt like Star Wars, but not old Star Wars. It's like Jay-Z's dropping a new album. It's not going to sound like his first or second album, because that he said it best. You want to hear my old style? Buy my old stuff. This is my new stuff. This is my new style. You know what I mean? So this is exactly what's going on. But before we get into all this contrived debate and talk, every time we have a fan on the show or a guest on the show, we always ask them, what is your first memory of Star Wars? What made you fall in love with this?
So this is actually kind of cool. So my aunt had these the VHSs of the original trilogy back in the day before the special edition and everything like that. And I remember this moment when I was like pretty young, and all the grown-ups, I just remember like I was playing, I think I was like playing with my sister, maybe my cousin or something, and all the grown-ups were all really focused in on the TV, like including my dad, who wasn't really like a big TV guy, you know what I mean? And so I was like, well, what's going on? And it just happened to be it was the scene in Return of the Jedi with Luke right at that time where like he lights up the saber, like R2 throws it out, you know what I mean? And everything gets set off at that moment on Jabba's yacht. And I just remember being like really captivated by it. But then after that, my aunt was basically like, you should watch all of them. And like, she broke it down for me, you know what I mean? And so it was one of those things where like back in the day, like, you know, we obviously didn't have Netflix or Disney Plus or like any of these things. And even cable kind of sucked, you know what I mean? So I just watched those movies all the time, and I watched them over and over again. And particularly Empire. Empire was my favorite, and I watched that movie so much, man, and I had so many good memories wrapped up in that experience. You know what I mean? And then like it just kind of goes on from there. Like even the prequels, I was at the perfect age for the prequels, and I just had beautiful memories of those movies and loving those movies. And I pretty much have loved everything in Star Wars, even The Last Jedi. Like I have a weird relationship with The Last Jedi because I walked out of that theater actually like confused. Like after watching it one time, like there's a video on my channel where I watched it and I did a live stream with a buddy before I watched it again. And if you watch that live stream, you might think that I don't like the movie, because at that point I don't know if I did. You know what I mean? But as I watched that movie more and more, like the second time I watched Last Jedi, all the stuff I hated way more, but all the stuff I loved way more. And then like by the third one, I just kind of set the shit I hated to the side. Like I just ignored it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because there's stuff like that there's stuff like that in almost all the films. Like Return of the Jedi is really high on my list. But like that scene that George put in the special editions with the bam, 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 like every time, man, I fast forward, like I can't get it. Although I have a theory that scene's not as terrible on Disney Plus. I think one of the edits that George made on Disney Plus was to make that scene a little less terrible, or maybe I'm just getting old.
Yeah, but, I watched it on Disney Plus like 3 days ago. It's still fucking annoying. I was like,
but that's what I mean, though.
Oh. Yeah. I don't want to watch this.
But you still like the movie, right?
You
know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's the thing, right? So there's always stuff like that within Star Wars that I think we just kind of ignore. You know what I mean? At least that's for me.
Listen, it's like your wife. You know, there's things you love about her, but there's things you fucking hate about her. It's just this is reality.
Sure.
But you deal with it because you love her so much. It's fine.
Yeah, definitely. But that's to answer your question. That was my first experience with it. Definitely always remember that.
Awesome. That's awesome, man. We always ask our guests. That's the mandatory question we ask, because when we had the show, before Alex was part of the show, he was a guest, and he went over his toy collection that he had at one time. He was talking about all his toys, and then we just asked him to join the NFO. So he actually answered that question as well. And when Spiro and I started the podcast, same thing. We both talked about our first memories that got us into Star Wars. Very cool, man. Very cool. Funny that you mentioned the Disney Plus and the re-release of the movies. Yeah. George Lucas is at it again.
Yeah,
he changed the Greedo seat. That's right.
Yeah, Maclunky. I can see George. I know. I can see this man somewhere, and he's like, well, I'm putting Maclunky in there, and they're gonna freak out about that. You know what I mean? And he knows exactly what he's doing. Like, Maclunky's the stupidest word you could think of. Literally, probably the stupidest syllables you can put together. And he was like, "What? We're gonna get Maclunky trending." You know what I mean? He's an evil genius, but yeah, it's pretty wild.
So, I mean, I personally will always say Han shot first.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. That the original edit, in my opinion, is what's canon in my head, and that's that. But I am glad they did update the scene, because it looks a lot better now when they shot together. Because we don't see the stupid head jerk, like Night of the Roxbury or something. So, in my opinion, it was a better change. But the funny thing is, no one knew about it because it happened 2007, 2008. Or 2012 or something like that?
Yeah, he did it like 7 years ago. Yeah, I did a little video on it. It was funny, man. People were, they were ready. They were ready for Disney. They got the pitchforks out. They were like, Disney's changing Star Wars, And then everyone's like, no, that was George like 7 years ago. And they all kind of calmed down. They're like, oh.
Yeah.
The same thing happened with Marvel. Oh, man, all these movies. Listen, man, they were never dark in the first place. But everybody's like, Disney's gonna make this, too fucking kidding, this and that. And everybody loves these films. Everybody, so listen, man, they haven't done 100% right by Star Wars. The Mandalorian might be a turning point. Hopefully episode 9 rocks. So let's see, man,
Yeah. No, definitely. I'm with you on that. Have you guys played Fallen Order at all?
No, man.
Spiro's the gamer.
Yeah, I haven't had any time, man.
Dude, it is cool, man. It is really cool.
Everybody tells me, man. Yeah. Everybody says it's fucking awesome, man.
Did you finish the game?
Nah, it's actually really challenging. Like, and I'm one of those, I don't know, like, I'm just not going to put it on the lowest difficulty. You know what I mean? But it's a lot like Dark Souls or like Remnant from the Ashes, where, like, if you get hurt and you're weak and you go heal, all the enemies on the map respawn, all like the old Metroid games. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's tough, dude. But yeah, I'm having a blast with it. But I'm only on like the second or third planet. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. Everybody keeps sending me clips, man. This one guy from Greece sent me a clip where he customizes his hilt.
Yeah. And
the fucking detail is insane, man. Everything you can do to it, it's just fucking sick, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, I just got the double-bladed lightsaber, actually.
Yeah.
And oh my god, it is. I mean, you obviously, right? It's way crazier. But like when you have been combating with the single, and then you get that double, and you're just like, oh, let's go, But yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'll tell
Josh,
you,
tell our listeners, all right?
Yeah.
All three of them. Tell them what your channel is about, because you don't only cover Star Wars, right? Den of Nerds,
right?
You cover multiple amount of things. So let them know about your channel, and then we'll go into a little bit of the Gray Order, and then we'll cover some news, and you hang around. We'll do Who's More Over and all the cool stuff.
Cool. Sounds good. Yeah. So the Den of Nerds is basically a media company where we kind of treat pop culture like sports almost. Do you know what I mean? And this was an idea that I had. I don't think it's necessarily a unique idea. There's a lot of other companies out there like Collider, Screen Junkies, different companies that sort of do this, where it really is people that love. It's what it is people love the stuff so much that it's not good enough to just watch the movies or play the games. Like, they want to watch content about the games and the movies. So it's just like SportsCenter. It's like sometimes you'll just have Sports Center on in the background, you know what I mean? And you just like hearing about what other people have to say about it. And so kind of with that in mind, as almost like an analyst of these things, we started kind of building out the content. Now I talk, you know, mostly Marvel and Star Wars. I talk about DC when it's relevant, Game of Thrones when it was popping off. But yeah, man, so that's basically what the channel is. And then the Grey Order was something that spawned out of basically where I was misrepresented online. And so I try to be very fair with the coverage. You know what I mean? I try to just give a fair shake to people that have different opinions, because I realized a long time ago, you're talking to a pretty wide audience potentially. And so you should act accordingly. You know what I mean? Right. And so, you know, I've always tried to be fair. I did feel that Kathy should have stepped down. And I forget at one point there was a story that was coming up about it. And I was just talking about it, and I was making the point that, like, as a sports reference, if you have a coach, it was after the Solo bomb, right? So it was after Solo bombed, I think. And I was like, yeah, if you're a coach and you're running this, like, Hall of Fame team, and this happens particularly in certain things, like in college, where you can get fired with a 500 record. You know what I mean? Right. Just if you're expected to win championships at some of these alma maters and you don't win championships, like, that's it, right? So I made that point, and then somebody took clips of that video and they put me in a video with all these people within the Fandom Menace. And so if people don't know what the Fandom Menace is like a very vocal kind of Star Wars group out there that has sort of become very anti-Disney Star Wars, and they bring a lot of their issues have to do with, like, the identity politics that is being pushed in Star Wars according to them. And so my thing is, like, you know, and this goes down a big rabbit hole because, you know, I went on this live stream with these guys. We've sort of been trying to hash it out, and some of them really do feel that way. My thing is, I feel as though they co-opt the culture war into Star Wars to get clicks, because that's not even, like, the real issues with Star Wars. Do you know what I mean? They're just bringing it up because we live in a day and age where that's going to infuriate people and get them to click, right? So the Grey Order was something I formed where I was like, we need a better group. Geeks and gamers, right, yeah. Right, so we need... Right. So, like, I was like, well, we need a different group. I was like, because, like, and that's just the way I thought of it. I was like, well, the reason people thought I was Fandom Menace was because there's no other group out there. There was no group that was like, no. These people identify as being reasonable and polite, and they have their criticisms, but they're not like that. Do you know what I mean? Right. And so that's where the idea for the Grey Order came from. And yeah, it's going well. I'm meeting a lot of cool people, trying to build up the network of people that kind of consider themselves Grey Order people. And together, what we're going to do is create this movement of people where, like, all you have to say is that you're a part of the Grey Order, and that's going to mean something. Like, it's going to basically cue to people to, I don't necessarily want to say take you more seriously than a Phantom Menace person, because that's not necessarily what I mean, but they will know that you are different. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where it all came from.
You know what, man? As far as me, I do have a problem with identity politics being pushed and shoved down our throats. Is there a place for it? You know what, man? There should be some voice for it. Yeah. You know, but when it becomes this overlapping, overbearing, you know, like point, man, I think it takes away from Star Wars. Now, you know, I definitely like this whole thing that you're trying to do. I hope it grows. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's something that I'm sure we would like to be a part of. Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, man, we all have our own opinions. There are things we like and don't like. But I feel that a lot of these people who are part of the Fandom Menace, I feel a lot of them are full of shit. I feel a lot of them are spewing hate and negativity, not because that's actually how they feel, but because it guarantees them clicks. Mm-hmm. You know, it guarantees them ears and eyes.
They are the Al Sharpton of Star Wars.
There you go.
Just the way he plays race in order to get his point across and get himself over. That's what these guys are doing with the so-called toxicity that they're spreading.
Sure.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you, brother.
Yeah.
I don't know you from a hole in the wall. This is the first time we're sitting down and we're talking.
Yeah.
I saw the little debate, a little conversation you had with that guy from Geeks and Gamers. What's his name?
Yeah.
Jeremy?
Yeah.
You let him off too easy, man. You're too nice.
Yeah, and that's
way
not,
too
yeah,
nice.
And I get that. Here's the thing. You're not the first person to tell me that. You know what I mean? The thing is, man, you got to think of it. You got to think of it from my perspective. I'm not going in there to try to like win. You know what I'm saying? Like that was just really clear to me. I didn't want to fight against Jeremy. You know, it's funny, man. Like I'm actually not a person that likes like social justice warriors. Like that's
Same
just
here.
me. Like I don't like that. I really don't, and a lot of that stuff bugs me. But ultimately, I just have this perspective on it where I'm like, I've known enough people in my life that there's some people that they get even offended by you even saying the word social justice warrior. Now, here's the deal. At the end of the day, you can think of it two different ways, in my opinion. You could say, well, fuck everybody. Everybody's got to get over it. I can just speak the way I want to speak, and you should get over it. But the way I think of it is, if you were in the room, like I just have buddies, man. You know what I mean? I got buddies that if I was in the room with them, I'm not going to go on a dunk. I'm not going to start dunking on SJWs and bringing in all the stupid shit that they do because of my friend. Do you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
He doesn't get down with that. But the way I think of it is, when you're a personality online, you're in a room constantly with all those different kind of people. And this is what the point I was trying to make to Jeremy was, in a sense, you are responsible for how your brand is perceived, right?
Correct.
And so, to me, even when I'm talking to Jeremy and his people are watching, right, I'm still responsible for, like, if I was in the room with them, just like my buddy. And it's not like I'm trying to, like, necessarily win hearts and minds, because I think we all knew going into that we weren't going to win a lot of hearts and minds. But it was just like, for the people out there that were reasonable, I wanted to present my arguments in a way that was really reasonable and non-confrontational. Do you know what I mean?
Oh no, yeah, I wasn't saying you had to tell him to go, off, or go, fuck his mother or anything like that. All I'm saying is that, he said something that made no sense to me, and that was where he's saying it's not his responsibility to try to get the fandom back together again. Where in one retrospect, I see his point of view, and he's not the one who's going to die on a cross in order to save Star Wars, because it's not his place to do so. But two wrongs don't make a right. Yeah. So in my opinion is, if you have a show and you're getting a lot of views, you also and obviously you're talking to individuals, words have power. So
100%, yeah.
If you're able to sit down and spew your message out, whether negative or positive or neutral, you're going to change the minds of certain individuals who are watching your shows. You're going to push them in a certain direction, because unfortunately, people are very tribalistic. A lot of them are very sheepish, if you will. Yeah, they don't have a mind of their own, and they tend to follow trend, and they want us all sit together at the cool table in the lunchroom, if you will. Yeah. So the scenario being now, okay, did Disney come out and say stupid things online when Episode 8 came out? Yeah, Rian Johnson shouldn't have opened his mouth. Granted. Were there a couple of identity politics in Episode 8? Yeah, there was. Okay, yeah. Is it because Kathleen Kennedy is anti-man and pro-female? No, I don't think so. I just think that's her.
So?
I think. Hold on. I don't think she's anti-male. I think she's more pro-female because she feels that women have not been represented enough in Star Wars.
She just sees. I mean, like, my thing is, like, look, she just sees it differently than we do. Yeah. You know what I mean? And to be honest with you, I don't, like, here's my biggest thing with the Kathy. I haven't seen enough of Kathy or even heard her speak enough to form any sort of opinion about her. Like, whenever I see her, and this isn't even necessarily a compliment to her, because I think she should be a little bit more forthright. But when I see her on stages and stuff, like, she feels so calculated, so, like,
corporate,
scripted, corporate. Like, I have no sense of where she actually stands on anything. And it's possible that she's actually super conservative, and she actually just thinks that playing into SJW stuff was the move. If you know what I'm saying? So it's like, how I don't even know for sure what's going on in her head, people just like the way they take the things that she says and sort of try to fit it into a narrative. I mean, it just simply is that. It's like, what is going to fit into my narrative? What's going to play well with my crowd?
Yeah,
and
I'm sorry, but can I just I just make just one point about her?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's
Spiro's the president of our fan club, if you haven't noticed by now.
Yes. It's like when you have a team, right?
Yeah.
And a sports team, soccer, basketball, whatever, and you have a certain amount of centers, forwards, etc. And you go to the bench, but what you're looking for isn't there. So the point that I'm trying to make is she's trying to fucking fill up all these positions with women.
Sure, yeah.
Because they're not represented enough or well enough. But she, does she think? Does anybody tell her? Does she take into account that not as many women as men go into these fields?
Yeah,
and the ones that do, 10 to 9 times out of 10 go over to the more artsy fartsy side of rom-coms and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, bro, I'm all for women coming over to sci-fi and all that shit and tearing down doors, kicking ass, but we need the right ones, just like men. I don't give a fuck whether somebody has a dick, a fucking vag, whatever the fuck. Just be the right person for that job.
Yeah, and that's it. Sorry, Doc. One thing. I just want to say one thing real quick. So, and this is something funny because we were just talking about this with regards to the Moon Knight scoop, right? So
what's the scoop about that?
So the scoop is,
listen, yeah.
So basically people were saying that Marvel really wants the main actor to be of Jewish descent because he was Jewish in the comic books, and they've been really doing that, right? Like, not just for Black Panther, but like if you look at like Eternals, you know what I mean? They've got a lot of, whether they be from China or Chinese Americans, they've got a lot of like representation in front of the camera and behind the camera. And so we were talking about Rami Malek, the guy from Mr. Robot. Do you guys know that guy?
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah. So he's incredible. Yeah, he's incredible. And we were like, he would kill it as Mark Spector, but he's not Jewish. And I was like, well, that's fucking dumb. It shouldn't matter that he's not Jewish. An actor's an actor. An actor plays someone they are not. That's always how that works. And then we got into this weird argument, and we were like, oh, well, but they did it for this. What's the messaging with that? Where it's like, oh, so it matters for Black Panther, but it doesn't matter for Jewish people. And really what it comes down to is everybody's just trying to play these weird checkbox games and stuff like that. And I do think there's a lot of that shit gets out of control. But ultimately, there's another side to it that's not necessarily talked about enough. Like Jordan Peterson. We all know who Jordan Peterson is, right? Yeah. So Jordan Peterson talks about sort of like logic versus like postmodernism, this sort of self-appointed idea that you can make a quota, like you're talking about with Kathy, where she said something like she wants half the story group to be women or something like that, right? It was essentially what it was. And there's an argument to be made that is logical. That's a logical fallacy, right? But you also have to think about things like the civil rights movement, where like Black people and white people wouldn't even go to the same restaurant together. And we literally forced legislation to make that happen. We impeded on people's freedoms to sort of make a shift in society, and our society is better for it. So it's not as black and white. It's not as simple as that. I see both sides. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Sorry, Doc, I'm sorry. I didn't want to cut you off. Oh, you're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry, fellas. My bad. Sorry.
Way to go. Way to be a professional.
My fault. That's the sheik over there. I agree. There's been issues in my career where I've had to meet a quota to hire somebody instead of hiring the right person for the job, it drives me crazy. Right. And then you wind up suffering for that. For me, it doesn't matter if you're a woman. It doesn't matter if you're a man. It doesn't matter if you're black. It doesn't matter if you're white. I need the person that's going to be the right person that fits with my group, with my patient population, with my crew. And we have a varied mix of people who work for me. So using that, that framework that, I need this person, I need that person, I need this person, it drives me absolutely bananas, because then you wind up suffering for that, because then you take people who are not good enough or who shouldn't be there just because of who they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that definitely happens. Like I said, it's a weird situation that we're in because it's like, and this is what I try to convey is like to the fans. I think mostly to the fans that really only care about product, right? I mean, we really only care about the product. Like maybe some fans care about the representation, and depending on where you're sitting, maybe that's more important. Maybe it's less important, but fans particularly only care about quality. And I think when it comes to something like Star Wars, quality should have been paramount. And frankly, I don't think like some of the things where she's, maybe, even if Kathy does believe that, and let's just say that's stupid, we can all agree that at the least it's logically doesn't make any sense. But I still don't think that necessarily is the reason that the quality maybe hasn't been there for some people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so it's an interesting topic. I mean, I love talking about it, and I think that there's a good way to sort of have these conversations. I think that, frankly, many people within the fandom menace are not interested in having conversations, though. You know what I mean? With their content, they're trying to sort of incite those feelings because there's another side to it that's really has to do with like sort of the way that these social media platforms and these videos and everything, it is in a sense programming you. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. It's indoctrination.
Yeah, it's indoctrination. And like that, I've always told, like, I think some of the best YouTube videos ever are propaganda. Like they're literally they're propaganda. Like and film kind of has its roots in propaganda. You know what I mean? Like really effective film in early America and in Russia, in Germany, film was propaganda. You know what I mean? And it's because it can evoke that emotion. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, that's a power. That's definitely a power. And I just feel like, my criticism is that I feel the wrong things are navigating decisions with regards to that power with what they do.
In wrestling, right? When you're first thing first about the whole Kathleen Kennedy thing, I think the problem is that she's in a bubble. All these CFOs and CEOs and top of the food chain, top of the pyramid corporate individuals, they live in a bubble and they live by their spreadsheets, their quarterly earnings, and this one and that one, right? So they have a focus group that has to focus on what's popular, what's trending, and they all feed up the corporate ladder to her. Unfortunately, all media, including the news, is all liberal and leftist and this and that and very SJW driven. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, I'm more on the conservative side, but when you're too extreme on the right or the left, it's unhealthy. You need to have a good basis right in the middle because, let's face it, if you get stuck in your ways, you're going to die off like a dinosaur. So you have to progress.
Like the Jedi.
You have to move and evolve with the times. Plain and simple. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's that with Kathleen Kennedy. I think she's a victim of circumstance. Obviously, she's weighing over her head. And in my opinion, because of all the positive reviews of The Mandalorian, I said it last week, my prediction is that Favreau and Filoni are going to spearhead and take over the new trilogy coming over.
Oh my God, I would absolutely love that, dude.
Because Dave are out. So because the D&D guys are out, these guys are going to take shape and take form, and they're going to ride the wave, and they're going to hopefully do justice. But a couple of things. One, news came out.
Wait a minute. Sorry. Can I just make just one last point?
Go ahead.
Because we never did talk much about them, about the D&D guys. Listen, man.
I'm glad
when you look at why is that?
Because
I'm
a big fan of Game of Thrones, and I liked the last season. Was the best written season out of all the seasons? No. But hey, you give me 7 great seasons out of 8 seasons. You know what? You're not batting 1,000, but your batting average is pretty high. So I'm happy that you did a great job. Yeah.
Personally, I'm not happy about it, but at the same time, I'm not, against it either.
But here's the deal. But they were working for the competition, dude. Right. They were working for Netflix, so they couldn't focus 100% on Star Wars.
Okay, well, this is the point that I'm going to make, but I'm going to take just a second to point out the problems with Solo
There was no
production
problems
wise.
with
Yeah, no, you know, during filming, there were a lot of issues. The problems with Rogue One, the problems with getting, you know, DB Weiss and all that stuff, you know, to come on board. You know, she meddled too much. Okay, there needed to be new filmmakers hired because she meddled too much, because she offered them a lot of creative control, but she kept shooting everybody down. And I'm of the opinion, and I could be wrong, but I'm of the opinion that the fucking Game of Thrones guy said, "Yo, fuck this bitch." Okay, it's like we can't win. All right, Netflix is throwing cash at us.
Yeah.
Oh, we love Star Wars, but it's not worth this bitch. And that's why they left.
It's totally possible. I mean,
I could be wrong. I could be wrong, you know, but you know, listen, man, history. It's just like Star Wars, man. History repeats, right? And you know, there is this history laid out with her meddling, and you know, promising creative control just to fucking shoot everything down. You know, just saying.
It's possible. I mean, we had the tease for a little bit that they were there, and they were gone. But like Pop said, whatever, we're moving on.
That's it. Yeah, fucking man. You know.
Listen, news came out this week that Michael Arndt wanted to take time when Disney first purchased Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
He wanted to take a few years to dissect, analyze, and put together a good, solid storyline for the sequel trilogy. And Disney shut him down because they said, no, we need a quick investment, a quick return on our investment. Now, it's business, man. I understand that.
Yeah.
But it's Star Wars. Star Wars makes money no matter what.
Yes, I agree with you. They don't feel that way.
Right.
They just dumped $4 billion. So it's a catch-22. But at the same time, look at the pickle they're in now, because they decided to do what they're doing. Granted, I personally think that the sequel trilogy has been phenomenal. Now, could it have been done better, executed better?
It's been decent.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I think the execution is the issue. And the fact that the sequel was, like I said before, 5 minutes after the original movie, you couldn't have these characters really grow or transcend to a higher level. They just had to continue the way they were in the first movie. Now, what I would do, I would have episode 9 be 2 parts. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do break it up into 2 parts and give us 4 or 5 hours of Star Wars where they leave us on a cliffhanger at the end of episode 9 and say, see you in May. You don't know, the fans go ape shit, but that's just me fantasy booking. Yeah. You know what I mean? The last shot. That would be wild. Palpatine comes down with the saber. 2 sabers stop him. They pan up. It's Anakin and Luke in the physical form. Fade to black. Boom. Total cliffhanger. That'd be awesome.
People would lose their shit.
Yeah, you know, but that would be such an awesome shot, but people would be so pissed off because it's like you're out on a hot date, and it seems like you're fucking about to score, and she pulls out some bullshit like, I'm on the rag, sorry. People will lose their shit. All right,
get your Red Wings, brother. It's okay.
What did your dentist say?
Oh, shit. Hey, Josh, real quick, what's your take on this, man? Because news came out this week that Derek Connolly and Colin Trevorrow, who obviously was the old director of Episode 9, got writing credit for Episode 9 alongside Chris Terrio and J.J. Abrams. And it's funny because J.J. originally came out when he took the reins for this movie and said, we have nothing. Yeah, we don't have a crew. We don't have actors. We don't have production. We have nothing. We have to start from scratch. It's going to be in a Mission Impossible type of scenario. But what do you think? What do you think this means?
Well, I mean, it's super telling to what that process is like over there. And, you know, I think, honestly, I can't speak for everybody, but just for me as a fan, I don't like to hear that. You know what I mean? Like, I like to hear, like, we have plans and stuff. So it's almost like I wish he would just lie to me or whatever. But, yeah, like, going back to, like, you know, the Michael Arndt thing and, like, the plans and, you know, them getting the credit, but then him saying that it's just, at this point, man, it really does. This is something I've been talking about is, like, Disney is this big corporation, right? And so they were always going to fight against the perception that when they bought Star Wars, they just bought it to make money. And so they had to deliver product that I think was always going to have to fight against that sort of preconceived notion. Like people there's a lot of people that probably went into it thinking Disney bought this, they're just going to make it into a product. And when you don't let a writer take the time to develop out a whole trilogy because you need to streamline it to make money, how can you blame people for saying that, yeah, this is Disney just wanting to make money? It's not a great story. So, but here's the thing. I think it's perfect that they're going to learn these lessons. I don't think they're as dumb as a lot of people think. You know what I mean? And like when people say we get the weirdest people, man. We talked about the weirdest people, right? But they say stuff like, "Oh, Disney has an agenda to destroy Star Wars." It's like Disney is a fucking publicly traded company. They are legally required to try to make money off Star Wars. They understand that Star Wars fans are the way to do that. If you think that they don't want to be making everybody happy, you're crazy. Now, did they do some things that they shouldn't have done? 100%. But I think they're going to learn lessons, man. I'm actually pretty excited for the future of Star Wars because the sequel trilogy for me, like I enjoy the sequel trilogy, but I can't help but have all these weird feelings about it. And you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, like it's not what it could be. And as Star Wars fans, I think that it's totally okay to want the greatest trilogy of all time to be followed up by an incredible trilogy. I don't think like okay or good is good enough for most fans. And I think that's fair. But we can still get it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it might not be episode 9. Like, it might be what comes next. And if Favreau and Filoni make a Star Wars trilogy, like, yes, please, like, sign me up. That would be amazing. But hopefully they learn the lessons. And with this hiatus that they're taking, it kind of seems like they acknowledge that they need time. You know what I mean? Like, Kathy just had that Rolling Stone article. We talked about it today a little bit where she's talking about the future and stuff. And she's talking about how it's terrifying but amazing because there's any place they could go. And that'll be good because I think one of the biggest things people don't like is how they treated the old characters and how they passed the baton. But they don't have to worry about any of that anymore. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of some of my thoughts about the writing situation.
Well, real quick, I want to say this. Couple things. One, that I read that Rolling Stone article as well.
Yeah.
I felt it was very PR contrived, very, corporate, very paint by the numbers, if you will, just to do a little damage control on her image being, the head of Lucasfilm and obviously not having a fandom that's solidly behind her. Sure. But let's call a spade. And the era that we're living in now, right? Yeah. This snowflake, technologically advanced social media era. If the same rules that we have now and guidelines that we are living by now applied during the original trilogy, in my opinion, the same scenario would have panned out then. The fact that back then people just couldn't go on a message board or on Twitter to complain and get on their soapbox so they can get their quote unquote shit in and get their 5 minutes of fame. And say, act like Stewie from Mad TV, look what I can do. Woo! You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The fact that didn't exist helped the original trilogy. And we weren't able to sit there and hear something from a Jeremy or from like a nerdrotic type of individual who I really want to punch in the throat. You know what I'm saying? Just badmouth everything and just make us feel like, am I wrong for liking it? Am I wrong for thinking it's good? You know what I'm saying? And making us second guess our own opinion. Yeah. So look at Lucas. Disney's doing exactly what Lucas did. Lucas didn't have this film, the 3 films planned in advance. He was going as it was, he was changing stuff all the time as they were going.
On the fly, kid.
Exactly. Yeah, he was walking and talking. Yeah. You know what I mean? He was working on the fly. Disney's doing the same thing. Now, many people feel that Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams had no communications with Rian Johnson and, so on and so forth. I totally disagree. Yeah. I totally disagree. I think there's too much money at stake. I think there's too much at stake with the share price to where communication did not exist. In my opinion, it definitely existed. I think if there wasn't a negative division, let's say, or a negative outlook of episode 8, that scenario that's come into play, this narrative about how they didn't talk to each other, one film doesn't agree with the next, wouldn't even exist. But because we have that little small pocket of people who are talking the loudest and making the most noise right now and trying to skew people into hating a movie, they're playing good cop, bad cop now. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So, in my opinion, it's business as usual, and I agree with you. They didn't invest $4 billion to kill something. They invested $4 billion to make $400 billion down the road. It only makes, sense, if you will.
Yeah.
So, that's that.
I mean, listen, man. At the end of the day, it's pretty fucking retarded to think, hey, I'm going to spend $4 billion to lose it, right?
I want to destroy. It's just so silly. Like, what do you think? Even if you thought they wanted to capture new fans, which is fair, right? Even the prequels capture new fans because it was like young people, right? Like this stuff for kids, and they're probably going after young people. Arguably, they're probably going after a lot of young girls. Which, by the way, I used to do this thing with a buddy of mine. We used to talk about this. We used to be like, why is everybody trying to scare off all the new female fans? I think we need more female fans. I'd love to have more female fans at conventions. Have you seen some of these female fans? It's like, what are you guys doing? You guys are really fucking it up. But I think, man, it's fair. Going back to what you were just saying, I think it's fair to say they obviously wanted to make money, but I think it's still fair to say that they should have maybe taken their time, that they did rush into it, that there were some problems that happened. I think that's okay. Like, it's okay to say, like, yeah, like, dude, they're not trying to fuck it up, but they can still do way better, and they should at least look at what they did. You know what I mean? Like, rushing that out and not having the script. I mean, like, there are pictures of JJ. And by the way, I think The Force Awakens is amazing. Like, I love that movie. Like, it is paced so well, dude. The score is amazing. Like, I could feel the energy of John Williams when he came back, man. Those new themes, Kylo's theme is fucking dope. Rey's theme is amazing. Like those bells, it's like the Imperial March too. It's like ding, 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 ding. I'm like, oh my God, I love it. That was a tight package, man. And I think honestly, The Last Jedi is a tight package. The problem I think I have is that they're tight packages that feel like they don't fucking, like, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
They don't necessarily go together.
We've said this before in the past in our episodes where people were complaining so much that episode 7 was too similar to episode 4, that it was a quote unquote soft reboot and they should have did things differently. So what they do in episode 8, they went into left field.
Yeah.
And they're saying, no, that's too different.
I don't want you to move on from that thought process. I'm going to show you this photo right here, okay? It's Luke. It's Luke drinking the blue milk, okay? And I'm going to read you something, all right? Hold on. Okay. I pass this around to these guys. I'm going to read to you, Josh. Worst Star Wars sequel ever. They take a beloved character who's the last living Jedi Master, powerful enough to battle the Emperor, but now he's just this crazy weirdo on a remote planet acting like a freak, eating weird foods, tossing weapons around like a joke. Then after all this whining, he's like, fine, I'll train you in the Force a little. But only after days of training, his apprentice just runs away to go fight the villain. And instead of cool action death, this legendary Jedi Master just dies at home and disappears. The 3 heroes all fail. They absolutely ruined the great Yoda, and this is why the worst Star Wars sequel will always be Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back.
So it's so cool that you thought. I knew where you're going with that too, by the way, because there's a really cool story. So it got to a point literally up to about 3 months ago where I couldn't even watch The Last Jedi. I like the movie, but because of what I do, you gotta understand. I love the fans. You know what I mean? I love the fans. I love the views. I love the conversations. It's so good, but I fucking hate it. I hate it. You know what I mean? Like, I hate it. I hate it. The people that just bark. It got to the point where I couldn't even watch a movie that I liked because all I could see was the comment section. You know what I mean? All I could see was the things people brought up. And so I was actually talking to some people on Reddit because somebody made the argument that the same thing happened with Empire back in the day, and people hated it. And then years later, they were like, "Oh my God, it's a masterpiece!" And now it's like the best one, right? And so people were making the argument that that's going to happen in The Last Jedi. And even though I liked the movie, I was on Reddit. I was like, "Whoa, hold on!" I was like, "Hold on, I was like, they're not the same. I was like, they're
20
not the
years
same.
from now, we're all gonna look back and it's like,
Right.
oh, I love that movie.
But what's
don't know
funny
about
is, so I
that.
said, right. Well, here's what I said. I was like, in my mind, I was like, there's no fucking way. I was like, Empire's a masterpiece. The Last Jedi I like, but like I can't even fucking watch that movie. So, they were bringing up all these goofy things in Empire because I was like, there's goofy stuff in The Last Jedi. I was like, I'm sorry, the mom jokes, Leia, Mary Poppins, like there's stuff I just can't get over. And they were like, well, you know, what about C-3PO at the end? He's in pieces. Chewbacca's got him on his back. And I was like, that's pretty goofy. I was like, okay, that's a little goofy or whatever. But the thing that really killed me was some guy brought up, he said, look, when Yoda, when we're looking for Yoda as a great Jedi master, and this weird, goofy puppet dude ends up being the great Jedi master, he said, it broke me in the theater. And I started to think about that, and I was like, holy shit, Yoda is goofy. And if I wasn't ready, that's like subverting your expectations. And if you were expecting something badass like Alec Guinness, you know what I mean? Like you get Obi-Wan in the first movie, and then in the second movie you get this little green puppet. Yeah, that probably pissed some people off. And so after that conversation on Reddit, I was able to watch The Last Jedi again and just enjoy it for what it was. And I think it's like one of my buddies says, like, Star Wars is like pizza. Even when it's bad, it's still good. And I wish we could sort of get back to that attitude.
That also holds true for blowjobs, by the way. If they're bad, they're still
yeah. That's true. That's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
Listen, there's a guy that we mentioned on the show before. His name is Ivan Ortega. Have you heard of him?
Yes, I have. Yes, he's an editor, right?
Yeah, he did his own cut of Episode 8. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen the cut. I didn't even know it was fully out.
It is.
I was like watching some of the scenes that he had out there. Can you send me a link on that?
Yeah, I definitely will, bro. When I tell you, look, I love Episode 8 because I'm able to sit back and I'm able to see the identity politics in it, and I was able to overlook it because it's Star Wars. I ignored it. I was a little annoyed that they cut Luke's morning scene with Han, but they put him drinking the stupid green milk from the breast of that stupid sea monster. You know what I'm saying? The Canto Bite scene, in my opinion,
dude, get that whole sequence out of there.
Yeah, like, I'm glad they failed. The whole movie's about failure, which is cool, but you could have done it in 10 minutes as opposed to 30, 40 minutes. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, regardless, this guy's edit made me love Episode 8 even more, but his version.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Made me like it. Yeah.
You know, and I love Episode 8. So, to me, I thought Episode 8 was a great film, minus a couple, like said, beats, whatever. But his edit, phenomenal.
I'll have to watch it. Have you guys ever seen the anti-cheese edits of the prequels?
No, I've heard about them. I've never found them.
You can find them on YouTube. They're incredible. So, like, just as one example, one of the things they did was like Newt Gunray and all those guys that have like the Asian accents, which is, why do they have fucking Asian accents? But anyway, he takes all that out and puts in weird, creepy alien talk with subtitles. Instantly changes the whole mood of all those scenes. Yeah, and they all feel way more like Star Wars. But you know what's so funny about that is like George had a really interesting attitude about that, where he said that he loved people doing that and re-editing. I mean, look at him. He can't stop editing his own films. He loves that. And he always felt like Star Wars really belonged to the fans, and like we were creating it. We're just as much arbiters of the story as they are. You know what I mean? And Star Wars itself, if it's a myth, man, then like you watch Ivan's cut, you watch Ryan's cut. At the end of the day, it's still a story about Rey, Luke Skywalker, Kylo Ren, Snoke. You know what I mean? Like that. At the end of the day, mythologically speaking, it's still the same story. So I think that's fucking cool. I will love to watch Ivan's cut. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that out.
I'll definitely send it to you after the show.
Cool.
You know what?
It went up at some point, then it disappeared, and then it came back up again.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
I just want to say it's interesting that you bring up that Star Wars belongs to us, to the fans. Through the years, through the decades, I think many of the fans have been responsible for a lot of the great stories that have grown the mythos of Star Wars, things from the old Republic. Yeah. A lot of things that are no longer canon as well.
Right.
You know, a lot of that stuff actually kept me coming back to a Star Wars after I grew up. I became an adult, so forth. We were talking about the prequels. I remember, and I've told this story before, man. You know, it's one fan's over, but I remember I was on an army base when it came out. I had no idea it came out. I never saw a commercial, any promo, still, any trailers, nothing. I saw it, and I had a bunch of my buddies. I'm like, yo, guys, you guys, there's a new Star Wars film out. Some of them were fans. A lot of them knew shit about it. So we went to see the movie. When we came out of there, right, yo, some of these guys for like a whole week would not talk to me. They absolutely hated. I wasted their damn time. But again, through the years, I think a lot of us who didn't like it gained an appreciation from it, not only from what Filoni has done or what they've done with the Clone Wars series, etc., but also a lot of the material that's been created by fans.
Yeah. That's
you know,
a good point.
So
you made a good point about changing the language. I think if they did that with the Lady Proxima scene in Solo,
100%.
that would have been fucking gangbusters. I mean, granted, I love Solo. I thought Solo was a fantastic film. It fell victim to bad marketing, bad placement. 2 weeks after, Infinity War, a week after Deadpool 2, no one's going to spend all their money down to go to the theaters. You know what I mean? If they would have came out in December, I think it would have done a different business. But everything happens for a reason, because let's face it, I mean, if that didn't flop, they wouldn't have pulled back the reins on Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we wouldn't be getting Obi-Wan Kenobi series. We'd be getting a 2-hour Obi-Wan movie. And in my opinion, I think the series is going to be a lot better, because they're going to dive deeper into the lore of Obi-Wan and his PTSD and his time after, seeing his best friend turn to charcoal on Mustafar. What's her name? The writer, Hussein Kamini, I think her name was, or his name is. I don't know if it's a woman or a man.
Yeah, I think it's a female director. I don't know who the writer is, though.
Yeah, Hussein Kamini. I think that's the writer.
Okay.
They said the same exact thing, that they're definitely diving more into depth, and it's going to take. It's not, and this is the way he worded it was weird. He said the series is going to take place in the span of time between 3 and 4. So there could be episodes that take place during a certain time, and then the next episode could take place a year later or whatever, unless they're going to do a sequel. I don't know. I mean, I'm just happy they're doing it, because I'm a big Obi-Wan fan. He was one of the best things of the prequels.
100%, yeah.
And I mean, and that's another thing with the prequels. A lot of us, I mean, I'm a little older than you, Josh. We spoke about before, and, the original trilogy is what I grew up on. I saw the prequels and I hated it, except for episode 3. Yeah. I love Revenge of the Sith. I think it's one of the greatest Star Wars movies of all time.
It's so good, dude. It's so good.
Minus one beat I didn't like. Just one little tiny beat I didn't like in that movie. But other than that...
Can I guess, is it Padme's death?
No, I didn't like the fact that the Jedi Masters died so quickly to
they're a bunch of bitches.
To Shivi Paps over there.
Oh, yeah. That is true. Yeah. And the thing is, that scene is just cut weird. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, they can do the same effect. And that, by the way, something I bring up with The Mandalorian is, like, it's not just what happens, but how it happens. Like, the scene, you guys are all caught up, right? On that?
Yep.
Right.
Okay. So when Baby Yoda lifts that thing up,
it's a Baby Yoda?
What's up?
No.
Oh God, no.
Baby Yoda?
Yeah. I was like, no.
Ruined it for him. No.
Yeah, I know, right? But the way that he lifted that up, it was the way it was shot, man. Like, I don't know, like something about it was just, it was not only believable, but like beautiful. The way it all opened up and you see him look over, and it's really well done. Where some of these other things, like when Palpatine cuts down all those dudes in one swoop. What just happened? I have no idea what the fuck just happened. I guess I'm supposed to know that he is a badass and killed them all. Or like with the Leia scene where she uses the Force. Like, I just felt like the way they shot, it wasn't what happened. Everybody wants Princess Leia to use the Force. Right. It's how it happened. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I think a lot in that Palpatine scene when he's killing the Jedi in there, he's making like this orgasm face as he's like striking at him. He's like, oh,
showing us his old face.
Acting ever.
Yeah.
Like, what is that shit? So
now, it did get memed in a really awesome way. So have you guys seen the videos where he starts that spin and then he just keeps going, and they have it like through different like worlds. He's like above the pyramid and shit, and you're just like, I don't know, man. These kids, they got something going on these days.
So speaking of Baby Yoda, I mean, he's 50 years old.
Yeah.
The whole timeline has been calculated by us diehard fans, and it basically places him around the same time Anakin was a little boy, or maybe when Anakin was born. So who do you think this thing is, or what do you think this thing is? Give us some insight on what your perception is of this, Josh.
So I think it's just a baby of the Yoda species, and I don't think it's going to be connected to Yoda per se. But what I think is happening is the Empire and that doctor, because the doctor's got the Camino patch on his arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like he's something to do with the cloning. So what I think's happening is he's actually trying to suck out the midichlorians or something from his blood. He's trying to take it out to do something. Right. Well, to make maybe Rey, right? Like to make a Rey or to do something like that. I also think they're going to work into the mythology of this show something to do with like young people and Force-sensitive children, which, by the way, that is actually a little bit in Jedi Fallen Order. There's this list of all these Force-sensitive children that the Jedi have, and that's kind of what's going on in Fallen Order. And I think there might be something to that, where that was something that the Empire was trying to do even after they were destroyed, was like get their hands on these Force-sensitive kids. So that's where I think it's going.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, what's her name? We had her on our show from the Resistance
Lacey Gillerin.
Yeah, Lacey. She came up with a good acronym. She calls the baby Tiny, T-I-N-Y. This is not Yoda. I thought that was just. I thought that was just.
Awesome.
I thought it was genius.
That's slick. Yeah, that's pretty.
But
did you guys hear the rumor about Ewan McGregor maybe being in the Mandalorian?
Yeah, during the flashbacks of the Separatists.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome, dude. That'd be awesome. Look, Spiro and Doc know this, but my favorite costume or I guess outfit, if you will, is Obi-Wan in the clone trooper armor with the brown tunic.
Battle armor, hell
yeah. Oh, dude.
General Kenobi. Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of collecting, like Doc got the toys. I collect statues, like the Gentle Giants and the Sideshow and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 IKEA glass cases in my man cave downstairs, full of statues. The majority of them is all Star Wars statues. And my first statue that I bought was that Obi-Wan Kenobi from Sideshow in the clone trooper armor, and it's my favorite statue.
Dude, I think you're getting it. I think you're getting it in that exact outfit. And I think
that'd be so dope.
Yeah, dude, right? Like, come on. Like, how could you not get pumped about that shit? And if he's hanging out with a Hayden Christian Anakin, like, that's it. Like,
if they both show up, dude, that'd be awesome.
It's gonna be like fucking the South Park guy jerking over the computer.
Exactly. All over, man. Yeah. No,
Randy Marsh, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, let's see what we got on the template tonight. We talked about that. We talked about JJ taking more risks in episode 9. He says that's because due of episode 8. Jock, you said you want to talk about Dark Ray. What did what's her name say? What did my future ex-wife say?
Oh, Darth Ray. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. What were you saying, Doc? You said you saw an interview with her.
Yeah. She had given an interview on. I think it was which magazine was it? One of these fandom magazines.
Entertainment, maybe.
Empire.
Empire. I mean.
Yeah, Empire. Hold on, I'm getting to it. She talked about. Yeah, she talked about the fact that that the movie is going to give us 4 things. There's 4 words about the movie, and one of them was dark, which is what I've been looking for a while and what I want to see. So, if that's coming from literally the horse's mouth, it's going to be hard to.
I think she said sad, dark, scary, and joyful.
Yeah, exactly. Right? There you go. Those are
good words. Yeah.
Very I'll take all of that.
Yeah.
She won Scrabble for the days, boys.
Well, yeah, she definitely did. And you know what? For the Rey character, too, I mean, I think that's kind of something that a lot of fans have talked about, where it does sort of feel like she's handled with kid gloves. You know what I mean? I don't buy into the Mary Sue argument. Oh. I just think it's more like it's just not explained well enough in the films. You know what I mean? Like, look, I'm one of these guys that, like, I go super hardcore. I read the novelization of the Force Awakens, and in that novelization, it's like talking about how she used to sneak into the Falcon at night on Jakku, and you know what I mean? She had been sneaking in there trying to learn about ships since a young age. So when she gets into the Falcon, she knows the Falcon. Now, that's not explained in the movie. You know what I mean? And people are just like, she's never flown the ship before. She just gets in there and she can fly. And it's like, not exactly. I can see the disconnect. But I do also think that, yeah, she's been handled with kid gloves. First of all, here's my thing. I feel like she needs to lose a hand. I feel like if she's really going to be the hero of the story, and she's really going to do all this stuff, where is the moment where she loses that hand and she's clutching it and she's like, damn, you know what I mean? Like, she doesn't have a moment like that. I feel like they should do that, but maybe they will.
Well, listen, I read the same book too. I think you're talking about that book where they had the 3 short stories about Poe, Finn, and Rey.
No, that is a different one. I think that one was called Rey's Survival Guide, maybe, or something like that.
It was a book right before Episode 7 came out. They had a little, and they spoke about Finn and his unit.
Yeah, and how,
this mission on Poe, and then Rey, that she actually, like you said, snuck on the Falcon a couple times. That's why she knew it was garbage. But she also, had a flight simulator that she went in and snuck in at nighttime, would fly different type of ships. Well, it takes 1 minute to explain that in a movie. All it needs
yeah, totally. You're right.
But that's the one thing I hate about Star Wars. The one thing that everything is spread out across different facets of media when it should all be visual. It should all be visual. All that should be visualized in movies and in shorts and in cartoons.
Well, particularly like with Star Wars, where it's already so much exposition. There's already so, like, if you read, you know what I mean? Like, you read the script for A New Hope and you're just like, who talks like this? You know what I mean? Like, it's not a big deal. Throw some fucking lines in there. And some of the coolest things in Star Wars actually come from just little lines. You know what I mean? Where, like, when Palpatine, I love that part in Revenge of the Sith where he basically he brings up the thing about saving Padme before Anakin does. And Anakin's like, what did you say? You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just like that little thing, and you're just like, ooh, it's kind of spooky. Ancient religions, you know what I mean? Like these little lines that fill in things. One of the things that and it's just a random ADD thought, one of my problems with The Last Jedi is why aren't more people talking about Luke Skywalker? If Luke Skywalker is the whole reason that if the whole thing is Leia's like waiting for Luke, she sends Rey to get Luke. They're like, no, Luke's coming. We're going to be fine, holding out hope no matter what because Luke's coming. Why aren't the people in the ship mumbling about Luke Skywalker? Why aren't more people talking about Luke Skywalker? It didn't feel like that was really a thing. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like in Ryan's head and on the script, it made sense, but like, I didn't feel it. I didn't feel like Luke was this godlike figure that they should all be waiting for.
Well, a lot of them thought he was a myth, right?
I think it's clearly because hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster exercise, kid.
But like, maybe, but at this point, like, so Rey says that she thought he was a myth, but they know who he is, right? You know, myth status is kind of like hero status in a way. And if Leia is literally telling everybody to chill out because of this plan to bring him back, I just felt like that should have been mentioned more. You know what I mean?
Oh, can I just add something to that? Because that's also a problem that I had. I mentioned this way back when we first started out. It's like, 30 years or however many years this takes place after Return of the Jedi is not enough time for people to forget the story of Luke. It's also not enough time. I mean, does Kylo or Ben Solo not know that his grandfather at the end was redeemed?
Well,
it's like there's a lot of things,
Yeah, but that's that. See, this is where this is the whole.
It's in a book.
That keep it close to your chest mystery JJ box that he likes to do. When he's looking at this at the at the mask, and he tells him, "Let me finish what you started." Everyone's implied to think that it's him becoming a dark side Sith Lord. No one realizes, hey, it could mean taking out Palpatine once and for all. It could very well.
And look, if they explain that in the last movie, I'll be like,
though, so then Ben was willing to sacrifice his own father.
Hey, my feeling on that is that whoever came up with that theory, that individual who said Han pushed the button on purpose to make sure the light doesn't disappear from his son. Right. Let's go with that.
Yeah, and I think that we all agreed many times that Han is the one that he killed himself, right?
Yeah, I don't agree with that. You guys agree with that?
Listen, you're down with this double agent nonsense, so you need to relax.
Oh man,
he was creaming in his pants for his double agent theory. Anyhow, who do you think Rey's related to?
I mean, I think it's Palpatine.
Really?
And honestly, there's that's kind of what some, not to get spoilery, but
by blood or clone.
By blood, yeah, by blood. Although that's not super clear, it could be changed. Because I actually do believe that the leaks are real. So that it gets a little weird. Maybe a clone, maybe not. But yeah, I think that's the way that they're going to go. And what's so cool about that is that theory was one of my favorites. I thought because she exerts so much dark side stuff. Like even in the forest, when they're first, doing that, even Kylo even mentions it in The Last Jedi where he's like, you've got that look again, like the one from the forest. She wants to kill him. You know what I mean? Like she wants to kill him. She goes right to the dark side in doing the meditation with Luke. There's a lot of dark side there. Like the way she fights too. In the throne room scene, Kylo is totally composed. He's thinking, he's looking at all his enemies. He's very composed. He's very Jedi-like. Rey is wiling out like a Sith. You know what I mean? And so I can see it, man. Like I can see her being a child of Palpatine. I think it'll be good for her character too.
No, I think she's a Skywalker. I think she's Luke's daughter.
Yeah, that'd be cool too.
I've said this from day one. Either she's his daughter or she's the clone out of his hand. One of the two.
Either one would be awesome. I would be down with that. And honestly, from what I've heard of what they might do with the ending, I prefer your version. You know what I mean? Like I would like it more if she was a Skywalker.
Only because it's a Skywalker saga, and in my opinion, Ben is a Solo. He's not a Skywalker. He has Skywalker blood in him, but he's from his father's house, which means that traditionally, the way life is, you take your father's name. Not if you're Jewish. Well, your wife's Jewish, so you have a thing for Jewish girls.
I do.
He also finds Natalie Portman hot, so you guys have that in common.
Dude, Natalie Portman.
Who doesn't, though?
Of course, yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with you guys.
Natalie Portman's midriff is the only good thing in Attack of the Clones.
Agreed.
Well, she's definitely over with all of us, man. And speaking about who's more over, we do a segment every week called Who's More Over? And you may ask yourself, oh, what does over mean? I don't understand this wrestling lingo. Well, I am a pro wrestler.
That was me on the phone. He was impersonating me on the phone.
That's his normal nerd impersonation.
Yeah, dude, don't take it personal. So over basically means popular. It's a terminology used in wrestling, and when you're the good guy, you're the baby face. When you're a bad guy, you're the heel. When you're over as a baby face, people pay X amount of dollars to come see you beat up the villain. When you're a heel and you're over, people will pay X amount of dollars to come see you get your ass kicked. So we do something where we can compare two different aspects, whether it's characters, person, place, or thing, whatever, song, doesn't matter, of Star Wars, and we see who's more over. Not only with you, the fans, but most importantly with us. So this week, Doc, enlighten the scruffy nerf herders. Let them know who's in the ring and what we're doing from Who's More Over.
So this week, I was pulling for this one for a long, long time, probably since episode 10 or so. We're pitting the little guys against each other. And oddly enough, we got to see a little bit of that in The Mandalorian this week. And we chose this battle prior to even seeing that.
Really?
So, yeah. So this week, facing off, it's going to be in one corner. The scavenger people, the Jawas. versus the very versatile Cloud City Denzins of the Ugnaughts.
Ooh. All right, Josh, you're on the hot seat. You're our guest. Guest go first. Who's more over for you? Who's more popular?
So I think it's, man, I got to say, I think it's the Jawas. I think it's the Jawas. There's no Ugnaughts in, there are, but you don't really see like predominant Ugnaughts in the OG trilogy. The Jawas play such an important role right off the bat with, C-3PO and R2. And I thought they were freaking amazing in that Mando episode, dude. Like,
yes,
it just is so funny, man. They basically put them on blocks, you know what I mean? And the way they just all blasted them. And the funniest part was when Homie calls him out and says that he sounds like he's speaking Wookiee. You know what I mean? Like, that was it. That was it. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Jawas.
Awesome.
Spiro.
All right, man. Listen, man. I've always loved Jawas. People have always loved Jawas. And I think that this past episode and probably moving forward, Jawas are going to sort of get a resurgence in popularity. That said, I'm obviously choosing Jawas, but I think that Nick Nolte, because to be honest, the Ugnaughts, who really gives a fuck about them? But I think that Nick
Lando
Nolte,
does, goddammit.
Well, yeah, Lando, he'll fuck anything that fucking breathes.
Right.
But I feel that Nick Nolte is gonna make the Ugnaughts popular. But I'm going with the Jawas.
Well, I'll have to agree with you, my fellow Greek friend. Jawas all day, every day. It's the only way you have to respect the Jawas, because even Mel Brooks made them cool with their little think, 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 think. I mean, even in a spin-off, in a spoof, they're just as cool. And the Mando episode, the child episode, chapter 2, that's another thing. They're not episodes; they're chapters, and people are complaining about the time. Well, let's face facts. You got 2 episodes in 1 week, so guess what? If they're going to be an hour episode a week, you got 2 in 1 week. You got your half-hour episodes. The first one is free. Second one is just a little bit of a taste. Then you get hooked. Then you need it every week. Like New Jack City, you want that crack, you want that Mando in your veins. So
I do want it real bad.
Yeah, everyone does. Everyone does.
That's what you should.
Oh, very bad, very bad. She likes the extra white sauce all over her face, neck, and chest from the gyro, my friends. But Jawas, brother, even though Nick Nolte is the man and he did steal visually, Baby Yoda, or Tiny, if you will, stole the Mandalorian, but verbally, Nick Nolte stole the whole show because
and you have spoken.
He has spoken. You thunder stealing.
I know, right?
Shit. Stop stealing my
What great wine! Like, that's such great writing too. Like, that's just awesome, man. Like, I have spoken, and now it's like a thing, man. You know what I mean? And that's the stuff, Star Wars stuff. We need more shit like that. We need more shit that's cool, that people just want to talk about, that we want to have fun with. We need less stuff of like, this is happening, and I'm all mad about it. You know what I mean? This is a good time to be pumped about this shit.
Definitely.
Doc, what's up with you? I know who you're gonna pick.
Yeah. Well, who am I gonna pick?
Tell me, and I'll let you know.
Well,
Steal his fucking thunder, bro.
I can't be the tiebreaker over here because it's 3 on whatever I'm going to pick anyway. So even if I do pick the Ugnaughts,
I knew it.
Which I'm not.
Oh, you aren't picking the Ugnaughts?
No. Well, listen. In the first trilogy, the Jawas showed up. They were integral in the whole story, but they didn't really do very much. Not that the Ugnaughts did anything in Empire Strikes Back, except kind of pushed a button on Solo to freeze him. We saw a little bit more of them in Rebels and Clones, but they weren't so exciting. And if you look at action figures, the Jawa was one of the first 12 that came out. And if you have the very super duper rare vinyl cape Jawa as opposed to the cloth cape Jawa, you got a lot of cash on you. Now,
that's another thing.
2 weeks ago, I bought a replica vinyl cape on eBay for like $3 because I needed my Jawa to have a vinyl cape, but it's replica and it's burning a fucking hole through me. But I can't justify spending like $300 on a piece of vinyl. So
no. What I was gonna say is this: that you brought up the whole thing about their little cape or whatever they wear, their little cloth. They get disintegrated. They get disintegrated by the Mandalorian, but their robes still stayed in place. The Jedis, they vaporize. Same thing with the Jedi. Their robes. Why not just build everything out of this robe material in the Star Wars universe and everyone will be good?
They should have built the Death Star of those robes.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Big ball of
I was
robes.
like, wait a minute, what's going on?
And then historically, one year when I was in med school for Halloween, I dressed as Luke in his X-Wing pilot outfit, along with a friend of mine, and I put my ex-wife at that time in actually a Jawa costume. I made her a Jawa costume.
Well, she's like a Jawa. She stripped you, right?
Yeah, in retrospect, the bitch stripped me of everything I fucking own, and I should have disintegrated her right in the spot. But that's the story for
awesome.
So
that's awesome.
Doc, what did the poll say?
So
we'll some emails.
No surprise, the Jawas go over 82 to 18% on the Ugnaughts. So the Jawas over. We got some comments.
Hit the comments.
Our buddy John Emright. I'm going to have to go with the Ugnaughts as they were more creative and able to create things, where the Jawas were junkers, not really able to create or even repair things. This is why the Ugnaughts are over in my book. Exactly. Our buddy Master 1000, Dusty Mulholland. I believe Jawas are the first alien race we see in Star Wars. Good point, actually. Those little red glowing eyes sure look pretty cool with their brown cloaks. Jawas are moreover even after the last week's episode of Mandalorian when they took out the main character. Ugnaughts are pretty awesome, but I haven't seen enough of them on screen. Wootini! I think it's Utini, but that's beside the point. Tom Serbian. Despite not having faces, Jawas have more personality. Then we got a few more comments here. Todd Santiago. Jawas in all caps. Thanks for screaming at me, bro. Adam Dayanes. Jawas are over. Still wonder what they and Sand People look like under that garb. But yeah, that's pretty funny. What did Jawas look like under that garb?
Just like Orko.
They're supposed to be what, rats and shit?
No, they look like Orko, dude.
Yeah, Orko from He-Man.
People are fucking humans, though, right?
No.
Tusken Raiders are fucking humans, no?
No, they're not.
Dude,
Nah,
one of them ended up being Darth Krayt, bro. Human. Jedi.
That's not canon.
Fuck all that
Just
shit.
like Revan. Not canon. Next.
Bro, Josh, bro.
Yeah.
Agree with me here. Revan becoming canon is inevitable, right?
Here's a photo of a
Tusken
Raider unmasked.
Looks like humanoid.
The thing with the lost.
So what do you think about that, Josh? About Revan?
Well, there's this scene from the last season of Clone Wars. Do you guys know about that?
Oh, with Darth, what's his name? Bane.
Well, no. Bane's in the season.
One. Oh,
there was a Revan.
Yeah.
So, hey, look, I don't know if they're going to do that in the 7th season of Clone Wars, but like I think Revan definitely exists in canon. They just haven't necessarily touched it or anything. But I got to be honest, if they go
sprinkling things in there,
right? Right, they do, and I think it's so easy to make just reference to him because in Rebels they mention the Mandalorian Jedi Wars. They go to Malachor 5. You know what I mean?
The MVP, bro. Who was Revan.
Absolutely. I don't want them to touch that story though. I want Revan to be canon, but like if they go back to the Old Republic, I don't want them to touch Revan. Like do it either way before Revan or way after Revan, and you can reference Revan. But like, dude, that's I think some of the stuff that's I think part of the problem that we're having with the sequel trilogy is that like, look, the best Revan story of all time was already told. You know what I mean? So anything you do with Revan now is going to pale in comparison. So I just don't do that. You know what I mean?
Well, listen, I have, from my sources, they told me they're going to remake Revan and it's going to be a female. And it's going to be Revan. Now I'm just kidding.
No. Actually, you know what? I heard that too. And now that I think about it,
Jedi hooker.
It'll be a cross-dressing Transdosh.
Shiro's having a seizure right now. He's
no.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
All right, we got
possible.
Oh man,
we got email from one of our friends of the show, Tim Gilby. Hey NFO guys, this week I'm picking the Jawas. I've always liked the characters. The glowing eyes are awesome. My cousin and I always had the weird theories on them. We always found it interesting that they wear a similar outfit as a Jedi cloak. They're like little lost souls of fallen Jedi. Ooh. Like defeated but not dead kind of thing. But then again,
younglings and shit.
Yeah, right? Could be the lost souls of all the younglings that Anakin killed. Nice. But then again, We were little kids back then, and our imaginations were a little wild. Our birthday parties were more like we would all get together and watch Star Wars and eat pizza and chips and create backstories for all our characters back then. Yalla, Tuttle 17. Well, Tim Gilby, good email. You just purchased a shirt. And if you guys want to purchase a shirt, the NFL shirt, we only have a few left, you guys, and you can send your emails regarding anything regarding the show. Who's moreover, TaTOYine, information about the Gray Order, how to get in touch with Josh, with Den of Nerds. You guys want us to touch on any subjects, hit us up on newforceorder@yahoo.com. We have another email from Adam Dehanes. I don't know. I can't. Sorry if I'm butchering your name, kid. Greetings, gentlemen and fellow Nerf herders. I absolutely need a t-shirt. Size medium or L is fine. Jawas are over for sure. As I said on Facebook,
we only make them for men. Tell them. Just kidding. Just kidding.
As I said on Facebook, I love to know more about them and the Sand People and what's under those hoods. Side question: I'm still curious about when and how the Empire formed and did a purging of the clones to human story. Keep up the great work. P.S. I may have to keep up learning. What the hell? I may have to take up learning MIDI and make you guys an actual TaTOYine song because it's funny and brutal. Oh, okay, I got it.
MIDI is the file format for music like 100 years ago.
I'm not tech savvy, so I don't know.
We know.
But his question, guys, what do you guys think about his question about the Empire being formed and the purging of the clones and going to humans for stormtroopers? What do you guys think of that?
I think it was just a money thing. I think clones are expensive. Yeah, I don't think they I don't think they purged the clones. I know that they did decommission some, right, in Rebels. So maybe after Order 66, if some of them started malfunctioning, maybe they did decommission them. But I think it just came down to they got old and they just got replaced with what was cheaper, and that was just recruiting stormtroopers.
Yeah, I mean they did age quicker, right? Because of the aging process.
Yeah. They
basically brought in
out then.
They brought in the Mexican labor who worked for 3 cents a day as stormtroopers, as opposed to too racist. I'm sorry, boys.
No, I mean, look, the Empire was notorious, a little racist. So yeah, they probably did do that. Yeah.
All right, final email from Hans. Oh God, over.
Buckle up.
Yeah, buckle up for this one. This guy writes Britannica emails and encyclopedias over here. Ugnaughts or Jawas? I will go with Jawas. Their sandcrawler is pretty fresh. However, no one is more over right now than Baby Yoda. That little fucker has got everyone's attention. Filoni and partially Favreau have almost reunited fandom under Baby Yoda. There's still about 10% that will hate, but that is okay. We need the Butcher to have some haters to go off on. See, Spiro has a little segment where he goes on rants and just tells everyone to fuck off. Nice. What do you guys think about
therapeutic?
Definitely. What do you guys think of the possibility when Yoda went to Kamino in Episode 2 to retrieve the clone army? He struck a deal with Lama Su to get his own personal clone. I think the timeline may not match up, so maybe he had I think he had their growth rate doubled. I think from Episode 2 to Mandalorian is roughly 25 years. Is it Friday yet? I need more Baby Yoda. Your boy Hans. Well, I mean, guy knows how to do some math. I mean, good for him.
Yeah.
But that's a little far-fetched, but it isn't impossible.
Definitely not impossible.
Why would Yoda want a clone? That's the thing. Oh, maybe because his species would be dying off?
That's really the only thing I can think of is like if there was something really bad going on with his people. But even then, like it seems like the Jedi thing is not to. It just that seems unnatural. That doesn't seem like a Jedi thing. That seems like a Sith thing, you know. Well, yeah. That would be super cool. If that is actually a clone of Yoda, I will think that's pretty fucking cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but let me ask you this. I mean, you know, even though it's cyclical and it rhymes, it's poetry, whatever. Do you think clone here, clones there, clones over here, clones over there? Do you think that's just lazy writing? oh, we need to explain something. We need to put something in here. It's a clone.
It
You know what I
could be.
mean, like?
It could be, but then again, some of the best stuff in the EU with the Thrawn trilogy, it definitely had to do with clones. Like, and it was cool because the one clone, what was this? Jawas.
Seabooth.
Yeah, he wasn't he a clone, a damaged clone of Obi-Wan? Yeah. So like, dude, that's fucking cool. And there was a dark clone of Luke and shit. So like,
Luke, Luuke.
Yeah. So I think there are ways to do it that would be really cool. You know what I mean? It doesn't. Basically, what I'm saying is, it doesn't inherently mean it's lazy. Does it give you room to take lazy ways out? 100%. But it doesn't mean you have to. You know what I mean?
No,
what if they explain it like this? What if they take it back to the Clone Wars and it was somehow Barriss Offee got like a DNA sample or something, a fucking, from him, handed it over to Sidious and shit, and that was part of his plan, Now,
what, the contingency plan?
Yeah, it could be.
But then they would have to explain his absence, the fucking clone's absence from the films and the books and everything else.
Well, the thing is, they can sort of explain it in a way because remember, Kamino wasn't even in the Jedi archives, so like the planet of Kamino, for all intents and purposes, didn't exist. But people knew about it, like Dax knew about it, and people knew about it, but it wasn't on any map, so to speak. So when Sheev comes in and purges the Jedi Temple, he takes all that shit. So it's possible that it's just nobody knew about it except maybe the Emperor. You know what I mean? I would love it if the Sith troopers in 9 have something to do with that. If those troopers are actually Force sensitive and they like are created by Palpatine to just be like the most badass dudes you can think of, that would be cool.
That would be sick, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Listen, what do you call it? Just came out today. TV spot for episode 9. You guys seen it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Missed it, man. Missed it.
I mean, it's only like a minute long. Couple new clips of the movie.
Shots.
Any thoughts?
Not for me. I mean, like the thing about the dude, JJ, he's like not showing anything.
No,
basically.
I know. I love it. I love the fact he doesn't show anything.
I mean, I kind of want more. I gotta be honest. You know what I mean?
We're
like,
a month away, dude.
No, I know. Dude, I know. It's good. We're gonna get it real soon.
And I personally feel the leaks. I know you said before, not to cut you off. You still think the leaks are true. I think the leaks are all fake.
I would love it if they're fake. I want them to be fake.
And I think the Kamino patch is a red herring on purpose, just to troll us.
It could be. Yeah. Hey, look, I would love that, and like keeping us on our toes. That's something Marvel does really well, right? Like in their trailers, they literally spend money and CGI things differently in the trailers.
Oh, absolutely.
Just to throw people off. I love that shit because it doesn't change much for me. I still get to talk about it on the channel, and then I get to be surprised later. You know what I mean? So I would love it, but unfortunately, man, I feel like these leaks are real.
It'd be funny if they that scene with the dagger in her hand.
Yeah,
that dagger was CGI'd on purpose just to play.
Yeah. Oh, I would love it.
I would pop huge,
dude. If that happens, I'm gonna I'll do a video right now, and I will just slow clap for the first 5 minutes of the video, and nobody will watch it because they'll all be like, "What the hell is this?" But I will do that because that would be amazing.
Yeah, but what if they make it to where that dagger was the dagger from Mortis?
Yeah,
that would be fucking awesome,
sweet.
though.
That would be really sweet. And look, there's some stuff they could do in this film that would literally just make me as a fan just fall apart. You know what I mean? If they do something with the Mortis gods and that ties in to maybe Kylo, you know what I mean? Like, is Kylo the son? You know what I mean? Like, look, there's a lot of cool things that they could do. But yeah, we're just gonna have to wait and see, I guess. You know?
So, yeah, of course. I mean, we're only a month away, but what was I gonna say? So Dark Ray, clone, Vision. Yeah.
They fucked up, dude. They fucked up.
No, that was out of context, dude.
No, bro, they fucked up. I'm telling you, they fucked up. Why would they change it that fast? It was literally. We did a live stream. I remember. Yeah. And literally, I'm looking at it afterwards, and they changed it after. I was like, what? Like, Yeah. Either they fucked that up, or that's the craziest coincidence. You know what I mean?
No, I got you.
Know?
We had a theory like, what if Palpatine's not in the movie?
That would be nuts.
What if he's not in the movie?
Dark Ray in the cloak or whatever.
Yeah, it's Dark Ray in the cloak sitting up on that altar, but you hear his voice because it's one of those robots from Operation Cinder. And when they walk into the gimmick, they walk into the area, and this thing just wakes up because it's waiting for someone to walk in, and when it just turns itself on after low sleep mode or whatever, and you hear him talking, and then you see Dark Ray, and then they pull the whole Ben Reilly thing where Light Ray's really the clone and Dark Ray's.
Dude, but that would be amazing.
Listen, man, if you're gonna involve clones in any form of medium, in any form of genre, the last place you want to get inspiration from is the whole Spider-Man Ben.
Yeah, I know.
Please.
But I have a soft spot for that arc, dude.
Yeah.
He just R.I.P. By the way, R.I.P. The guy who created Scarlet Spider. He passed away today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I forgot his name.
Great design, but no, man.
Who, Tom Lyle?
Yeah.
And he was sick for a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I think he was 66 or something like that. No, whatever.
He was a clone, no?
Yeah,
he might have been. Who's
My
the real
bad,
one?
man. Too soon.
Never too soon on the NFL.
That's why you're the butcher.
Yeah, right.
Slicing people up.
You guys ever read that run with Kane when he was down in Houston? It was after Spider Island. I think it was in the 2000s, but they took Kane, who was the villain in the Clone Arc from the 90s, and sort of he got like ugly, like he was more of a correct clone.
He redeemed himself, no?
Yeah, he redeemed himself. Yeah, but he goes down to Houston, and he's just gonna bust some drug deals and then hop the border and just live a life. He doesn't care about hero stuff at all. But he runs into like some human trafficking shit, and he keeps just kind of getting like roped into it. And I love that run, dude. It had the coolest tagline where it said all of the power, none of the responsibility.
Yeah,
I loved it. I was like, I like that run a lot.
As Papa Don told you earlier, I'm a huge action figure mark, and because I love Star Wars, I have pretty much everything, but I'm also a huge Marvel Legends fan.
Nice.
And also the fact that I'm insanely creative. They never made a Kane, so I decided to make my own, and there he goes right there. So,
dude, nice.
That's beautiful,
customized Kane figure right there.
That is really nice. Yeah,
pretty good. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty deep.
Dude, that's nice, man.
One of my favorites.
I used to fuck with Hero Clicks, and I had the Kane Hero Clicks.
Yep.
That exact shit. Yeah.
You missed it the last couple episodes before this one. Doc was fixing a Hank McCoy, making a Beast figure, and for months he's painting his balls over and over and over again. We're like, Doc, put it down.
It came out good though.
No,
I have the X-Men animated series head on there. So he looks pretty dope.
That looks
there's his balls right
balls.
there. There you go. I actually didn't touch his balls.
The details on those balls is just
yeah.
His balls are blue and he's not even married.
I did every hair individually.
Yeah. That's the Lord's work, man.
Yeah.
Well, speaking about toys, Doc, it's time for your segment. It's time for you to enlighten us with what you got on the plate for toys. It's time for TaTOYine.
From Kenner's Star Wars collection, each sold separately. Large-sized Darth Vader with his lightsaber.
New Star Wars radio-controlled Jawas sandcrawler. It's the new Star Wars land speeder.
Wow, looks like it's floating.
Millennium Falcon from Kenner's Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back collection. Action figures each sold separately.
It's Darth Vader, watch out.
Kenner's new Star Wars action figures, each sold separately.
Does it get those wonderful toys?
TaTOYine. TaTOYine. TaTOYine.
Why do none of the guests ever sing when we do that? Because it's a fucking terrible.
This is why.
I was trying. I was like, that's like the jump rope thing where you can't jump.
Yeah, no, exactly. There's absolutely nowhere.
I could get it.
Now you see why they offer to make us a fucking jingle and shit.
Yeah. Huh? There's nowhere to jump into that song. It's just fucking atrocious. So don't worry. All right. So a few things, TaTOYine. One thing I love more than Star Wars, more than toys, is getting a great deal on Star Wars toys. So this week, I was walking around. Where was I? That coat factory place, Burlington. Sorry.
I thought you meant the Blue Oyster. My bad.
No, well, I was there too. And Burlington has fantastic deals on toys occasionally.
Wait, what? Burlington Code Factory has toys?
They do.
Dude, you'll find gems there.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. Yeah.
And they usually sell shit for pretty cheap, too. So I've been sitting on getting this for a while because GameStop had it. I know GameStop is going to eventually blow it out because no one was going to buy it. And finally I waited, and I got it for the cheap price of exactly $8 at Burlington. And in reality, it's probably in the 30s. 30
your wife proud.
She loves me when I save money on toys. And it's from your favorite movie, Papa Dog, Solo, Star Wars story. It's the 4-pack from the not the super hyper articulated ones, but it's the 5 points of articulation ones that are throwback to the vintage Star Wars collection that Hasbro has made now as kind of like their main line. They're not using the vintage line. It's got Han Solo inside there in his Vandor 1 outfit. Never one to plan ahead, Han Solo goes where opportunity calls, and a chance for big score finds him riding across the wilderness of Vandor 1. It's got our girl Kira, who I think, by the way, outside of Game of Thrones, is a terrible fucking actress, but that's besides the point. Sorry. I apologize, Emily.
Facts.
Kira has put her life and powers. You ever seen her in Terminator? Oh my god, that was atrocious.
She was good in Star Wars, dude.
Yeah.
Solo.
She's all right.
Josh, you like Solo?
Oh man, I'm gonna break your heart. I really don't. I really don't like Solo. No.
What don't you like about it?
Actually, you know what's funny? The Solo thing confuses me more than The Last Jedi. Like, I can see why people don't like The Last Jedi, but to me, I'm like, Solo. Like, okay, so there's just a few things off the top that I don't like. The fact that it feels like a checklist. You know what I mean? Like here he gets the pistol. Here he gets the Falcon. Here he gets his name. Like, I definitely didn't need dude to get his name because he's alone. I was literally like, what the fuck is happening when I was watching that movie? But yeah, so it's a cool like sci-fi film, but like to me, that and the fact that the cinematography is really dark. Like it seems like even though they go to different planets, like they're all just really dark. And the Wookiees at the end I thought were hideous. But other than that, I thought it was okay.
All right.
So, before Papa Don stabs you, Josh,
I know, right?
Kira put her life as a powerless street urchin behind her as she managed to move up the status and reputation with a prominent criminal organization. They don't mention which one. We got the Range Trooper. Stormtroopers from an Imperial backbone of stubborn defense against the would-be thieves and pirates. And we got this little guy, Weasel, Enfys Nest cloud-riding gang of swoop raiders has attracted warriors from scattered worlds and backgrounds like Weasel, a one-time gambler who fights for a cause. So I open all my 5 points because it's not worth keeping them. I was psyched to get this again because I don't want to pay full price. Here's Han. He's got his little coat on there. He's got his glasses that do not come off. They're molded to the side of his face. You can see through them.
Really?
You could rip them off if you want to, but it'll destroy the figure. Got the holster. He's got his little dirt in his boots over there. So that's his Vandor 1 outfit. Looks fantastic. Wonderful. I love my 5 points of articulation. He comes with his blaster as well. Like you said before, they had to show us how he got it. The Range Trooper. Now, they made a black series of the Range Trooper. It's actually a pretty underrated figure.
I love the troopers in that movie.
Yeah, they were fantastic.
Yeah, that shit was cool.
They were done very, very well. He comes with the helmet. He comes with, the not soft goods, unfortunately, but it's this plastic molded fur on the side over there. He's got his blaster with him, and he's got those big, crazy gravity boots that they used when they were trying to connect to the ship.
Cool scene.
Yeah, that was one of the better scenes.
The train scene was amazing. I'm super. You know what else? Not to go on a tangent, but they underutilized Thandie Newton so hard in that movie. She was so great, and I really was like, here we go. This is like our new crew and all that. And then she's just gone.
I was talking to a buddy of mine. I was telling him that I want to see a Tobias Beckett prequels TV show of him and Thandie Newton and Jon Favreau.
Yeah,
that led
That's
up
the thing. The Jon Favreau character was great, dude. Rio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it would be pretty cool.
They could have definitely spun that off. They could still spin it off. I mean, Woody's an awesome actor, and I'm sure he'd be down for it. You know, pin him, pay him, he'll be all right.
Yeah.
So Kira comes in her very stylish 70s bell bottoms, which I'm sure they did a little throwback for the because it was placed in that whole 70s section over there when the initial trilogy Star Wars was shaped and formed by the era around it. It actually looks like a fairly good likeness of Amelia Clark, which is pretty amazing because usually they don't nail these at all in the 3 3/4. They usually look somewhat like them, but it's a fairly good figure. Unfortunately, we're still seeing her sitting on the pegs when you go to Target. Her initial figure, the Black Series, has not moved basically at all. It's the new Jyn Erso of the world, which drives me crazy. And hold on, let me get Weasel over here. He took a powder. He got shit canned. So Weasel sitting
That's
up
wrestling terms, Josh, so you know.
Yeah, exactly. He's got his mask on, which is actually a fairly cool mask. He looks like one of the Knights of Ren, actually, with that mask.
Oh, shit. What if he is? Yeah, he does, kind of. Holy cow.
Maybe the Knights of Ren are like two of these guys stacked up on each other under this cloak.
Yeah, all of a sudden you think there's 7. It's really 14.
Exactly.
Dude,
that one.
Warwick Davis, I realized he plays all these characters in Star Wars. They all start with W.
Oh,
Wicked.
wow.
Weasel.
Yeah. Who else?
I forgot the names, but
Wookiee. No. Willow.
No, the wrong movie.
Anyway. But he was there anyway.
Yeah,
so,
another W.
Yeah.
So there's Weasel. I'm excited to add the 5 points to my collection. So now I don't have to look for many more. Thank God, I'm happy about that. One more thing we got this week. I actually picked up not 1, not 2, but 3 Black Series battle droids.
Oh, dude, that's sick.
Because
Roger.
I got a soft spot for those droids. Yeah.
Because who doesn't want more than one battle droid?
You got to.
I know. In the 90s, when they were blowing these out in Walmarts and Targets across the world for like 90 cents, I probably picked up like 15 or 20 of them, and I had some of them chopped in half, sitting exactly. There you go. Sitting in a diorama with Kenobi and with Qui-Gon split in half, painted like to look like they were burnt out from over there, chunks all over the place. There's nothing wrong with a couple of battle droids. So they released this one probably like 2 or 3 months ago, and he's actually, oddly enough, been the hardest one to find at everybody in the brick and mortar stores. It's been difficult to get him. And I just think the fact that people are just buying a bunch of them to army build them, which is what they usually do for most of the. I picked them up off this toy shop online called Empire Toys, just because I could not find them for the life of me on brick and mortar. Yeah. He's got a few points of articulation here. He's got the wrists. He's got the elbows. He's got the shoulders, which kind of come up and come down, which is nice. Of course, the head comes up and comes down, just like it normally would. His knees can bend, so you could put him in that, I'm stacked up inside of the transport position over there. He gets all crazy.
Pretty cool.
Fucking yoga moves and shit.
Exactly, which is nice.
Downward dog.
Yep. Comes with the backpack. Comes with the typical Imperial blaster. Got a couple scorch marks on him here and there. But I picked them up. It was 3 for $40, which is actually a pretty good deal because usually about $20 a piece. Which again, I love me some deals. They're going to re-release this one actually in one of the new series of the Black Series as the what's the planet in episode 2? I'm blanking. That they fought on, not Camino. Geonosis. Yeah, they're releasing the red color version, the kind of like the brick colored version from Geonosis,
cool,
which is an easy repaint. That's what they love to do. They love to do easy repaints, and that's going to be a home run when they do that. It's makes sense, easy to do. They got the mold. They just have to get through it. So that's the Black Series on the back of the package. Battle droid. Rather than use flesh and blood warriors, the Separatists prefer mindlessly loyal soldiers that are easily controlled. Battle droids are dim-witted and no match for clone troopers or Jedi, but they weren't designed to be smart. They were designed to overwhelm Republic civilizations through sheer numbers, something they do very effectively.
Yeah, Doc, can I ask you a question, man?
Yeah, man.
Just because, so I'm not in it like you are with the toys, but when I picked up the Black Series for Episode 7 and Episode 8, they didn't feel. Do you think has there been a dip in quality? Is it getting better? Because there's all this, you hear all this stuff about the toy sales going down.
Yeah.
Do you think that's real? And like, what does that have to do with, in your opinion?
Well, I think it's kind of, we spoke about this prior. I think it's multifold. I think, I grew up in the 70s. I'm 43 right now. So I grew up in the 70s and 80s. So for me.
He's 93. Don't worry.
And exactly. When 900 years old, you reach. So for me, we didn't have YouTube. We didn't have iPads. We didn't have social media. We didn't have. I walked out of my house when I came home from school. After I did my homework, I played stickball. We went to somebody's house. We played with, who's ever, Transformers, G.I. Joe, He-Man, Star Wars. Yeah. I'd bring my shit over. They'd bring their shit over, and we get our shit in, and then we go home with our stuff, or we trade it up. So, but now, I mean, even, I'm a pediatrician by trade, so that's the doc moniker. More and more kids aren't, interested in toys. They want electronics. They want to not go outside and play stickball. They don't want to not go outside and play football. They're not doing these things anymore. So I think
they want to do fucking drugs too.
Well, that's beside the point.
Drugs are way better now too.
For sure. This whole culture change of that has kind of left the toy industry in kind of a little bit of a lurch because it's primarily targeted audience was children, which it still kind of is. But now collectors are becoming, more and more of what they're targeting it to. But they're losing more and more kids because more and more kids just don't want to look at it. So that's why I think we're seeing more and more things sit on the shelves. I think the Black Series kind of took a hit. It was one of those things that we wanted in the beginning because we wanted a bigger Star Wars line, as opposed to the 3 3/4, which was just what we had for decades, was the 3 3/4, and collectors wanted it, and it came, and it was kind of marketed towards collectors. Kids started buying them as well.
I think it still is marketed to. I mean, the whole 100%. Idea, the sleek boxes, like the whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I agree, and I think it was really hot in the beginning, and then it kind of cooled off because the line kind of fell off, and then now with the new face print technology, where people are looking a lot more like they actually do in the movies, it's now kind of coming back up, and people are getting a little bit more into it. But I think the big hit is the fact that kids just don't want to, they're just not interested in playing with toys anymore.
It's a shame.
It is a shame. I completely agree. I mean,
we grew up in the best era, man.
100%. We absolutely did grow up in the best era. I agree with that.
And all the shit that was cool back in the day, we're getting it now anyways. Like Mandalorian on Disney Plus. Are you kidding me? Like I was watching the 90s X-Men cartoon, just going through it on Disney Plus. You know what I mean? Like, dude, we get all of our shit is now the new like retro stuff, and I'm down with that.
Even though 80s cartoons are better than 90s cartoons, I have to agree with you. The Batman the Animated Series and the X-Men cartoon,
absolutely.
in the 90s were awesome.
When I was scrolling down, I was trying to find something for my daughter to watch, and when I saw that they had the 90s X-Men cartoon, I was like, sorry to say it, I was like,
I'm watching this.
Fuck you! I'm watching this shit right now, man.
Yeah, dude. Yo, I had my son watching it
straight through it.
I don't know if you saw it, Josh. My son ran in real quick before. He's 6. He's going to be 7 in June, but whatever. He came in and he watched the X-Men cartoon. He loved it. You know what I mean? So
I had the kids this weekend. I have a 3-year-old and I have a 1-year-old, and my son with the 3-year-old was binge Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. We actually did it as cosplay for New York Comic Con. Yeah. We did a whole Spider-Man Amazing Friends kind of theme, and he literally watched all 15 episodes and then rewatched them all again.
Wait, there was only 15 episodes?
Yeah, there was only one season of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. That was it.
I thought it was longer.
Yeah, no, I felt it was longer too, but it wasn't.
There was a Spider-Man. There was multiple Spider-Man shows, but the one that would run with the X-Men show, that one went on for I think 5 seasons.
Oh yeah. That was the one in the 90s on Fox.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Fox had it on lockdown back then. They Power Rangers,
they were
X-Men.
Crushing it.
Yeah, dude. Now they got nothing. So
Yeah.
You remember what was it? Pix, when they had Transformers, G.I. Joe, Voltron, Gem, Mask.
Yeah.
Channel 11, baby. Channel 11.
Yeah.
Those are Titans.
Oh man, I was gonna say now. Oh yeah. Plus on Disney Plus, they got Darkwing Duck. They got Gargoyles. They got
Gargoyles.
They got Gargoyles on there.
Yeah, I think so.
Man.
So deep.
I gotta go through that. Yeah.
They got DuckTales, all the cool stuff. You know?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I blew my mind. I only found out about this about maybe 3 months ago. Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers were based on Tom Selleck and Indiana Jones. Poof. Who knew that?
Really?
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
I never thought about that, but you know
Look at their
what?
costume.
It
They got
makes
a white
sense.
shirt,
Exactly.
And the guy got a fedora.
Yeah, I never knew that. Anyway.
Yeah,
Makes a
it
lot
makes
of
sense.
sense.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is another long but yet informative and action-packed edition of the New Force Order podcast. Thank you for giving us your ears and your time. Let them know where they can find everybody at. Doc, why don't you start off?
Find me at Instagram, Dr. Dr_Destroyo, DESTRROYO. Facebook, Alex Arroyo. Twitter, Alex Arroyo MD. MD is for the ladies, boys.
You can find me Spiro_A. Also, Darth_Spiridon on Instagram. On Twitter, I am Handsome Reaper. My email, handsomereaper@gmail.com. Send me all your love emails, but most importantly, send me your hate mail, please.
Josh, let them know where they can find Den of Nerds. Let them know where they can find the Gray Order. Let them know everything about you, where they get in touch with you. Smarten up these people. Let the Scruffy Enough Herders know.
So check out the Den of Nerds on YouTube. You can search it in, find it. Even Den of Nerds, I think if you search, you should be good. We've got some pretty big videos that should bring in. On Twitter, the Den of Nerds, and shout outs to Ken Cologne, young man that helps run our social media. He does great. He always has the best memes and just funny shit on our social media. It's a good time over there. It's not really contentious. As for me, you find me on the YouTube channel. I don't have a personal Twitter. I really don't like it. But you can find me on Instagram if you want as Josh the Jedi, with underscores in between that. And as far as the Gray Order, we're trying right now to build this thing out. We're trying to find good people like you guys and just grow the network of people that are Gray Order and just try to like help each other out, do collabs, and really just have better versions of these conversations that have been going on online. Just have better versions. I mean, honestly, like this has been a lot of fun. You guys have your flavor, but you guys seem respectful too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a good vibe. It's a different vibe. And I think some of the things that are going out there online, that's all we want to do really, is just shift to a better way of having these conversations. So that's what the Gray Order is, and we're growing. You know what I mean? So hit me up. You can email me at thedenofnerds@gmail.com as well.
Well, first off, thank you for coming on the show tonight. It was a pleasure having you. You're welcome back anytime. Talk shop and hang out and have a good time. You heard it here, folks. That's where you can find the Den of Nerds, the Gray Order. You can find me at Greek God Papadon on Twitter, Greek God Papadon on Instagram, Demetrius Papadon on Facebook. My Pro Wrestling Tee store, where you can go buy all the Pro Wrestling T-shirts. My likeness on it is Pro Wrestling Tees / Greek God Papadon. My YouTube page, where all my matches and promos, Greek God Papadon. Tomorrow I will be 6:15 live on Twitch with the Conspiracy Horseman podcast. Myself, Big Stevie Cool, Stevie Richards, Big Sal, and Ben Hamin, 4 pro wrestlers who talk conspiracy theories, free thinking, and always questioning the narrative. You can find myself this Saturday wrestling in Schenectady, New York at Immortal Championship Wrestling. Google Immortal Championship Wrestling for all the details. And you can find all 3 of us at NFO_podcast on Twitter, New Force Order on Instagram, Official New Force Order on Facebook. And the email is newforceorder@yahoo.com. Thank you once again for your time and your ears. We're here at the NFO. We're looking to get Star Wars more over, not get over on Star Wars. Because there's only one thing better than Star Wars. Doc?
More fucking Star Wars.
This has been another exciting edition of the New Force Order.
For life.
And that's just too sweet.
Henceforth, execute Order NFO.
It's a trap! May the Force be with us, with us, with us, with us.
by a girl who's never held a saber. You'll never be respected, you sad Vader masquerader. Remove that silly helmet with the voice change modulation. Boy, I see your hesitation, cause the light side's got you guessing. What, you gonna cry again and swing about your saber? If you break another monitor, it's coming from your paycheck. Now back to work, you emo. Here's a map to Luke's location. Find the Jedi, terminate him, and you might live up to Vader. Luke, who's fucking talking, Mr. Public Masturbator. Mr. couldn't even hear the fucking saber turn to face me. Mr. I'm Not Plagueis got the chat room speculating the most pointless villain ever in the history of movie making. I sliced your ass in half and me and Ray killed all your henchmen. Even though she's just a freshman, it's aggressive negotiations. I'm the supreme leader now, in charge of all the action. Now you're sliced up like a fraction, gonna start a brand new faction. Look, it's Mr. Emo, it's Mr. Call Me Kylo. Just a child in a mask, it's the bastard son of Solo. I made you kill your daddy, man, that shit was such a low blow. I hope you ain't a Force ghost, cause your son's become a oh no. Look, it's Mr. Pimp Gold, look, it's Mr. Cheek Holes. It's Sidious 2.0, except this version's into young boys. You said you can't be beaten or can never be defeated, so explain to all these people why your body's in two pieces.